To call Manute Bol a freak of nature would be a tremendous understatement. Standing at 7'7", his extremely long arms allow him to block basically any shot at the rim. However, his rail-thin frame made it hard for him to move effectively at the NBA level, but he really wasn't even supposed to make it that far. Being born in Sudan, he grew up in a tribe full of giants, naturally picking up soccer until he got too tall. Then he started playing basketball, getting the attention of a college coach that convinced him to come stateside to hoop. But unfortunately, Manute didn't have a birth certificate, so there was no way to know how old he really was. As the NCAA was questioning his eligibility, he decided to play at Division II Bridgeport University, where he dominated, putting himself firmly on the NBA radar. Although Manute never really refined his game in the NBA, he came in as one of the best shot blockers of all time, as he's still the only player in NBA history to retire with more blocks than points. He could also surprise opponents with his underrated three-point shooting, as most teams didn't bother to guard him out there. Manute's physical traits made him a popular player, but he used his platform to fight for civil rights in his home country. Today's video will look at the unique career of Manute Bol. Welcome to PZ Hoops, and let's get down to it. Manute was apparently born on October 16, 1962 in Tereli, Sudan, as his father was a tribal elder for the Dinka people. Manute grew up during a period of peace in Sudan, so he didn't have to serve in the military. His family was extremely tall, as his mom was 6'10", his dad and sister were 6'8", and his great-grandfather was 7'10". By the time Manute was a teen, he was already 7'7", so he was too tall to play soccer, picking up basketball instead. Coach Don Feely came to Sudan to hold clinics for their national team in 1982, and after he saw Manute, he convinced him to come to America to play basketball. He tried to enroll at Cleveland State, but he couldn't provide a record of his birth date. Manute also couldn't speak English well enough to qualify for enrollment, and although the coach listed it in a way to make Manute 19 years old, he believed that he was much older, possibly as old as 35. Philly also influenced Manute to declare for the 1983 NBA draft, and he was selected 97th overall by the Clippers. Coach Jim Lyman came to watch him play, and he was hesitant about Manute because he didn't speak English well enough to understand coaches, and the height on his passport was listed at 5'2". When Lyman asked Bol about the discrepancy between the heights, he said he was sitting down when he was measured by the officials. Even with all these concerns, the NBA ruled the draft pick invalid because Manute didn't declare 45 days before the draft. Since his Division I eligibility was in question, Manute enrolled at Division II Bridgeport University. He averaged 22 points, 13.5 rebounds, and 7 blocks in his lone college season, becoming a Division II All-American. After this, he signed to play with the Rhode Island Gulls of the USBL, teaming up with Spud Webb and John Hot Rod Williams. Manute didn't score that much, but he led the league with 15 rebounds and 12.5 blocks a game. After the season, he declared for the 1985 NBA draft. Scouts felt that he still needed another year of college, but he felt the need to go as his sister was stuck in Sudan during a time of political unrest. Manute was picked 31st overall by the Bullets in 1985. He weighed just under 200 pounds by the time he entered the NBA, so the Bullets sent him to strength training with University of Maryland coach Frank Costello. Manute was brought along slowly, as he was still extremely raw as a player. He was never going to be a scorer, but his defense was his calling card and he was performing well, as he dropped 3 points, 9 rebounds, and 7 blocks on November 27th against the Spurs. In his first start on December 12th against Milwaukee, he almost hit a triple-double with 18 points, 9 rebounds, and 12 blocks. He blocked a career-high 15 shots on January 25th against Atlanta. Manute knew his role on the team and played it well, blocking 5 or more shots in 38 games, including 5 games with 10 or more blocks. He helped anchor the Bullets' top 5 defense this year, making up for their terrible offense. For his rookie season, he averaged 4 points, 6 rebounds, and a league-leading 5 blocks. His 397 total blocks this season were a rookie record and was the second highest total in the season behind Mark Eaton. His excellent shot blocking also earned him a second-team All-Defense selection. The Bullets faced the Sixers in the first round, and Manute was a starting center, averaging 5 points, 8 rebounds, and 8 blocks through the first 3 games. But Washington was down 2-1. He got into foul trouble early in Game 5 as the Sixers blew them out and took the series. Jeff Ruland was struggling with injuries by 1986, so the Bullets traded him to the Sixers for Moses Malone, making Manute the backup center. Although he was only playing about 19 minutes a game, he was extremely effective, blocking 5 or more shots in 28 games, even recording his only career triple-double on February 26 against the Pacers. With 10 points, 19 rebounds, and 15 blocks, he finished 4th in Defensive Player of the Year voting, while also having the 4th best defensive rating, averaging 3 points, 4.5 rebounds, and 4 blocks. Jeff and Moses Malone were carrying this team offensively, as they finished with a 42-40 record, facing the Pistons in the first round. The Bullets were completely outmatched this series as they were swept, with Manute providing limited production. The next season, the Bullets drafted 5 3-point guard Muggsy Bogues out of Wake Forest, giving them the shortest and tallest players in NBA history on the same roster. They also signed Bernard King as a free agent. Manute's minutes went down again this season, only to about 15 a game, so he only had 15 games with 5 or more blocks, and 4 games with double-digit rebounding. He averaged 2.5 points, 3.5 rebounds, and 3 blocks, finishing 8th in Defensive Player of the Year voting. Washington was extremely average this year, finishing 38-44, facing Detroit in the first round again. The Bullets lost in 5 as Manute was buried on the bench. Manute was traded to the Warriors in the offseason for Dave Fidel and a 2nd round pick. Golden State needed a center after their recent draft pick Chris Washburn was struggling with addiction. They also signed 7'4" Rob Sampson, but his body was broken down by this point, so the Warriors were led by their guards Chris Mullin and Mitch Richmond. Manute had a bigger role in the Warriors, and he provided his usual defense, blocking 5 or more shots in 26 games, and 10 or more in 6 games. But Don Nelson ran a fast-paced offense that encouraged the 3-point shot, and Manute wasn't shy about shooting it, hoisting up 91 attempts, making 20 of them. Bol averaged 4 points, 6 rebounds, and a league-leading 4.5 blocks this season. But the Warriors still had the worst defense in the league. Their high-powered offense helped them finish 43-39, facing the Jazz in the first round, who had their own 7-foot giant in Mark Eaton. Manute came off the bench and averaged 6 blocks a game in a 3-game sweep. The Suns were next, but Manute was largely ineffective, going scoreless in 3 games as the Warriors lost in 5. The Warriors drafted Tim Hardaway in 1989 to round out their Run TMC trio, as they also got a valuable bench piece in Sarunas Marciulionis. Manute played his usual role this season, blocking 5 or more shots in 20 games and grabbing double-digit rebounds in 4 games. One of his 2 double-doubles was an 11-rebound and 13-block game against the Nets on February 2nd. Manute averaged 2 points, 4 rebounds, and 3 blocks this season, as Golden State had the top offense but the second worst defense, finishing 37-45, missing the playoffs. The Warriors traded Manute to the Sixers for a first-round pick in 1990. Philly was far from their contending ways a few years ago, but they still had Charles Barkley along with some solid young players in Hersey Hawkins and Armin Gilliam. Manute failed to crack double figures this year, but he still blocked 5 or more shots in 20 games, finishing 10th in defensive rating. He averaged 2 points, 4.5 rebounds, and 3 blocks this season, as Philly finished 44-38, facing the Bucks in the first round. They swept Milwaukee as Manute blocked 5 shots in Game 2. They faced the Michael Jordan-led Bulls in the second round as Manute put up 10 points, 6 rebounds, and 2 blocks in Game 1. But as expected, the Sixers lost the series in 5 games. Philly didn't really change much in 1991, but it was more the same for Manute. He blocked 5 or more shots in 14 games, but outside of Barkley, the Sixers really didn't have anything else. They were really bad offensively, finishing 37-45, missing the playoffs for the first time in 3 years. Manute averaged 1.5 points, 3 rebounds, and 3 blocks. Barkley wanted out of Philly after this season, so he was traded to the Suns for Jeff Hornacek, Andrew Lang, and Tim Perry. Philly also drafted his replacement in Clarence Weatherspoon from Southern Miss, as it was clear that Philly was rebuilding. Manute was the backup to Lang, but he only appeared in 58 games this year, as he would put up his usual numbers in about 18 minutes a game. But his biggest NBA moment would come on March 3rd against the Suns and his former teammate Charles Barkley. He tied his career high of 18 points, but he did it by making 6 threes in the second half, pulling up from way behind the line as Barkley was shocked as Manute kept shooting them. This was a high point in a largely forgettable season for Philly as they finished 26-56. Manute averaged 2 points, 3.5 rebounds, and 2 blocks this year. The NBA was getting a lot faster, and Manute's limited mobility led him to only playing 14 games in 1993. After being released by Philly in July, he played in 8 games for the Heat, then signed 10-day contracts with the Bullets and Sixers again. He averaged half a point, a rebound, and a block in only 14 games. He signed back with Golden State in 1994 as his minutes were going up again. He was doing his usual work on the defensive end, while shooting an unbelievable 60% from 3 in his first 5 games before he went down with a season-ending knee injury. In his shortened season, he averaged 3 points, 2.5 rebounds, and 2 blocks. Manute then played 22 games for the Florida Beach Dogs of the CBA in 1995, even playing against the Sioux Falls Skyforce that featured Daryl Dawkins. He also played in Italy and Qatar before rheumatoid arthritis in his knees and wrists ended his career. Manute was extremely active in charity during his career, donating most of his NBA earnings to support humanitarian efforts in a war-torn Sudan. He also founded the Ring True Foundation to continue fundraising for Sudanese refugees, as he appeared on Fox TV Celebrity Boxing, winning in the 3rd round against former NFL lineman William Perry. After a charity trip to Sudan in 2010, Manute contracted Stevens-Johnson syndrome, a life-threatening skin disease. He would pass away on June 19th from kidney failure caused by the disease. He was allegedly 47 years old. Although Manute Bol never really refined his game, he knew what he was on the floor to do, and he did it well, as he's still the only player in NBA history to retire with more blocks than points. His physical attributes made him a fan attraction, but he was a very solid defender that used his platform to help his country. Fortunately, his legacy is being carried on, as his son is currently on the Phoenix Suns. Thank you guys for watching. I really appreciate you guys for the support. Thank you. We're almost at 1,300 subscribers, man. I really love y'all, man, for the support you guys are giving these videos. But I figured I'd do Manute Bol because he's just a very popular player, you know, even though he wasn't a star, he wasn't a top player, but he was a memorable player, you know, and I felt it was right to give him his flowers. But thank you. Please be safe. Stay on the grind. Have a great day. Peace.